Eagles. Eagles.
Welcome in, everybody, to a Football Friday edition of Birds 365 with some fun and stuff on the agenda today. It's rookie minicamp kicking off in Eagle Land. Johnny Mac, how you doing on this Football Friday, brother?
Yeah, there's going to be a semblance of football at least later this afternoon at the NovaCare Complex. So it'll be good to see the rookie players, rookie tryout players, new numbers. I know that fires people up. I could care less. Some of them are out there, some of them aren't, but I know that gets people excited. And my always, beware of the jersey buying early in the process because there could be number changes down the road. So I throw that out there every year.
Yeah. Jihad Campbell, I think, is going to be number 30. Not many like that number. I do like that number. All right. That was my number when I was a goalie back in the day in hockey. So I like that number. We will follow that. John, who are you most excited to see today? Campbell won't really be out there. So is it default to Makuba? Is it Ty Robinson? What's piquing your interest as you head into rookie minicamp that kicks off today?
No, it's definitely Makuba, not just because it goes to that situation, 1-2, but because you don't get to see a lot when there's no pads on with defensive front people and offensive linemen. So you get a feel for how big they are. Imagine everybody's going to be pretty impressed with Ty Robinson's physique, but other than that, I don't think you can get a good feel for that kind of stuff. Whereas defensive backs and receivers, a little bit more. So I think you're always tend to lean towards that, sort of like the world of football, what the world is becoming. In the off season in high school football, college football, all they do is play 7-on-7. And that's why, because you can't put on the pads and bang around. So can't see the physicality of offensive or defensive front people.
Yeah, I think a lot of the Eagles fans are excited to see the guys out there, the new draft picks, plenty of guys coming in as well. An Australian rugby player coming in, Carson Patu. So plenty of fun stuff to discuss. John, what time does all the stuff kick off today? When can the people expect to see some of the posts that will come out from down at rookie minicamp today?
Practice is not until, I believe, 1:50-ish. There's going to be some interviews before practice with some of the rookies. So, you might see some stuff from that, but actual practice is scheduled to begin at 1:15 and at 1:50, excuse me. And it's more like a regular season practice, not a training camp practice. That means reporters like me are only allowed during warm-ups and individual drills. So it's not like training camp where we get to watch the entire practice. So understand that as well.
So it's interesting. It's that late because I think it's supposed to be a hot day today, John, down in Philly. Might need to get your sunblock out, brother. I think it's gonna be
80s. Yeah, I mean that's nothing compared to training camp. So yeah, sometimes they'll move up practice, which is in the morning anyway in training camp. But when it gets really hot, but yeah, 83, you got to get out there at 83.
Yeah,
not great for me, but they got to be able to handle that.
Right.
Bunch of 20-year-old, 21, 22-year-old guys, so they'll be fine.
Yeah, good stuff there. We'll see how it all plays out. We got a great show planned for everybody this morning. We got John Stoneless coming up at 8:20. All right, our good friend John. We haven't talked to John in a little bit, but I always love getting his takes on the team. So we'll talk to him about the Eagles NFL draft, what he thought of what they've done so far in the offseason, and what it looks like in the future here with the Philadelphia Eagles, what his thoughts are in the upcoming Philadelphia Eagles season. So plenty of stuff to discuss, John, but obviously that rookie camp is where everybody's sights are focused on today and through the weekend. Now it's today and tomorrow, but there's no media availability tomorrow, which means what? We won't see basically anything, right, from the practice?
Well, you'll see stuff from Eagles.com, state-run media.
Yeah, right, state-run media.
Yeah, they'll have plenty of stuff up. That's the goal, to control the message. So they'll have plenty of positivity for the cheerleading crowd.
Yeah, so we'll see that. We'll see how that all comes out. John, what rookie here? I think the top three are really the main culprits, and maybe not even Mac McWilliams, but
Yeah, I'm going to Mac. See how Small Munden moves. What his injury
yeah, that's true.
situation is. The guys like that. But again, Kyle McCord obviously throwing the football. That's going to be a big thing. Should have mentioned that early on. But yeah, the rest of the guys, defensive front, Ty Robinson, offensive lineman, Drew Kendall, Miles Hinton, Cameron Williams, and Antoine Powell Ryland.
Yeah, the lines are tough because there's no pads,
Yeah,
as you mentioned.
there's no
So
pads.
those are those
So
are
I mean, people might be impressed by Antoine Powell Ryland today, his movement skills, and then you say, all right, young buck, 250 pounds. Here's Lane Johnson.
get around one of the best.
And to be fair, he's not going to be repping against Lane that much. So good for him. But
I think that's a good thing though. If he does, man, get him better, man. That's how you get better. That's how you practice versus Lane Johnson. Any guy you play on Sunday probably is not going to be as good as Lane Johnson, with the exception of a very small number of people. So
and Jordan's in that category too.
Yeah, Jordan. I mean, a lot of the Eagles' offensive lines in that category. So, and same goes for the corners, right? Same goes for Makuba and McWilliams. Now, Makuba's a safety, I understand, but you line up against AJ Brown, you're not going to see many receivers that are that good. All right. Did you hear? I saw a little thing that came out. I don't know if it was recently, but Jihad Dotson was on a podcast with somebody, and he was talking about a practice story from AJ Brown. And basically was just saying this guy's basically the greatest receiver I've ever seen. He did a whole practice with one hand or something. And, Dotson's like, yeah, there's levels to this. AJ Brown is insane.
Yeah. I think I always say it, and people, for some weird reason, because I think, AJ gets himself in trouble on social media every once in a while, but talking to players in the locker room when it was about a year ago where I shifted to, all right, best pure football player on the Eagles that we do, that the list that Ed and I do.
Yeah, right.
AJ's number one, and part of that is the way his teammates talk about him. I mean, it's just, you hear stuff like that all the time. Yeah, he's tough to deal with. And his peers know it, and that's what always stands out. I tell that story all the time. When your peers are in awe of you,
yeah, right,
you're good.
Because these are the best of the best, and then there's a very small portion who are the best of the best of the best. So AJ Brown definitely slots into there. So we'll see what happens all today. John, any undrafted free agents piquing your interest today? I tell you what, there's a lot of hype in Eagle land about Malik Carr, the tight end. People are jacked up about him.
I think that one guy brought it up.
I don't know. I've seen I've gotten a couple other comments. Xander, have you watched Malik Carr tape? I have not watched it yet, but people are excited.
So I get it. I've been through this. I tell my Kyrie Sabear story all the time.
Yeah.
The guy didn't even get signed as a priority undrafted free agent. And I don't remember who said that in our chat, and I can't pick on him even if I wanted to. And I'm not trying to pick on him. I'm like, replacement for Dallas Goedert, Malik Carr? He's not even on the roster. He's got to make the roster. He's got 2 days to make the roster. I mean, look, everybody, and Nick has done it, can point to Adam Thielen, who I think is going to enter his 12th or 13th season. It's possible. He proves it. But, I mean, replacement for Dallas Goedert, then we got to go to our Harrison Bryant guy and say, you got to get past. You got to start dealing with Harrison Bryant and Colin Granson.
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
First of all,
why would people hype Carr? We have Bryant. Look, he's here.
First of all, Malik Carr's got to make the team this weekend. He's got to get an off-season roster spot. Like, run down the list alphabetically. Darius Cooper, Lance Dixon, Maxon Hook, Giles Jackson, Brandon Johnson, Montrell Johnson, BJ Mays, Taylor Morin, Holland Pierce, Derek Powell. You know what they have all in common? They were actually signed by the Philadelphia Eagles as undrafted free agents. Malik's got to get there first.
Right. Boy, it feels like, John, it feels like we're coming to camp this year with a lot of names. Are we already at the 90 name threshhold that they start with?
I mean, I got to do the math on that. They're
gotta
close.
be close.
I mean,
though,
you're
right?
always they're probably at 88, but I haven't counted up or something. Yeah, they're very close to 90. They might have a spot or two open for the Malik Cars of the world. You know, somebody who can open their eyes over the weekend. But he's got to get by that hurdle. And please don't start talking about replacing Dallas Goedert
with Malik Carr. I think that's where our Harrison Bryant fan is correct. There's a better chance of Bryant doing that than Malik Carr. Maybe not a good chance on that either, but
a much better chance for Harrison Bryant. If Dallas Goedert. I mean, people, Grant Calcaterra might as well be George Kittle compared to Malik Carr. Come on, let's settle down, people.
Let's see what happens out of that. We're going to see what
Where
happens.
have you seen that, by the way? I'm interested.
Where? What? The Malik Carr stuff?
Yeah.
Just comments on Jay. Not live comments. Like after the fact, people comment, "Hey, Zander, did you watch the Malik Carr tape and stuff?" So we had a couple of them. I probably got 3 or 4 of them. And once I get a couple of them, I'm like, all right, let me check this guy out.
He's big. He's athletic. He's more of a king size receiver type, as you know, wide receiver, tight end hybrid. So people like that. He's more athletic than a normal tight end because he's not a normal tight end. That's part of the problem. You know, you might have to get by Pumper's guy, Johnny Wilson. You might have to move to wide receiver. So who knows? He's got a long way to go, is all I'm trying to say.
Harrison Bryant, how much impact will that guy have this year on the team? Because we got, JD3's got me jacked up about this guy, but 27.
I mean, is Dallas here? If Dallas is here, not much. Then he's fighting for his life.
Yeah.
Then he's fighting for his roster life with Kylan Granson, who got about $400,000 more money. So that tells you right off the bat the Eagles. Now, if he outplays them in training camp, the Eagles aren't going to say, well, we paid this guy. We're paying this guy for it. They're not going to keep him for that. Right. It's a rounding error, but it does say that Kylan Granson is probably starting a little bit ahead in the process. So he's got to beat him out. But look, I said, if Dallas Goedert is here, the Eagles have improved at tight end.
I agree.
Because Granson and Bryant, or Bryant and Granson, are much better than EJ Jenkins and anybody was, handling the tight end 3 spot last year. But if Goddard's not here, oof.
Where are you on Calcaterra?
He's fine, but he's a backup.
Yeah, that's exactly what I think.
If he's a starter and he bumps up to being the starter, if Dallas isn't here,
right,
that's not good. It's fine as a backup. And then I think Granson and Bryant are pretty darn good for a third tight end. As a 2, dips a little bit.
Any questions, John, that you have in mind right now that you want to get an answer to as you go down there today for rookie minicamp?
Yeah, well, I mean, Howie was doing the rounds yesterday.
Yeah, I saw that.
And I hope, I don't know why anybody is talking about Jihad Campbell for week 1. It's like an absurd conversation.
Howie basically admitted that yesterday. Yeah. I mean, in a good way. I thought his answer was pretty good on the injury front. If let me see if I can pull it up. I'll read it to the people real quick, so that they have an understanding of what Howie had to say. Let's see if I can find it. It was on your Twitter, right? Yeah. So Howie was on Mad Dog Radio with Adam Sheen, and he said, "This is, I quote, I think the first thing is the medical part of it. And from our perspective, that starts with, I'm not a doctor. I never went to medical school. So for us, that's got to start with our medical staff. And they have a ton of information as a medical staff about what we feel in the player, what other teams feel in the players. They get to share medical information. And so obviously he's coming off a surgery, and we know that. But we look at the draft as a long-term vision for our team. We don't look at it. We don't look like, what's going to happen the day training camp starts. We look at it in the short term and the long term. And we feel like over the long term, this guy is going to be playing the same level of football that he was playing at the University of Alabama. And we will do whatever we can to get him right as quickly as possible. Let's get him. And then he brought up Cooper DeJean and how Cooper didn't play any training camp last year. And obviously everybody doesn't talk about that because of how good of a season.
I talked about it. I talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
I talked about it yesterday.
Yeah, John did. But so Howie, that was what he had to say about Jihad Campbell. So we'll see how it all shakes out with Jihad. I do think it's a good point by you. And no, I think you're right. He will not be ready for week 1, but we will see what happens. Let's go to our main man, Johnny Mac. John Stolness going to join us here on the show. Post NFL draft. Haven't talked to John in a little bit. He joins us right now here on Birds 365. You can follow him on X at John Stolness. John, how you doing on this Football Friday, brother? Good to talk to you.
I'm doing great, guys. How's it going there?
Good to see you, buddy. It's been a bit, but I'm glad we got you on post draft. And real quick, because we were talking about Jihad Campbell, you were in the green room. I don't know if you heard it, but yeah, he might be on the roster week 1, but I think you look at Cooper DeJean and the comparison Howie was talking about, missed most of training camp, didn't play really until after the bye week, which was week 5. So you're talking week 6. So he's not gonna be a starter and an impactful player. 6 to 12 months is usually the range, which is a pretty big range for labrum surgery. You would think, being a high level athlete, he'd be closer to 6 than 12. But that would take you right to the start of September. So, it'll be a gradual ramp up. I want people to be prepared for that. That's my only point. But John, to you, just the pick as a whole, tremendous talent. I think more teams should take the philosophy of the Eagles. This is a long-term thing. This is not about week 1. It's not about the first rep of training camp. Who cares ultimately if he's there for 7, 8 years? And right. I think talent-wise, they did it again. They managed to get a top-level talent at 31 in the draft because other teams are scared to do that.
Yeah, I think the Campbell pick is a super interesting one. First of all, them picking a linebacker in the first round, I don't know if in my lifetime I thought I'd ever see that happen with this franchise. But the more they talk about it,
by the way, we'll get into that, but you still may have not seen that.
That's what I was going to say. It sounds like they view him long term as kind of an edge rusher. I know that the pie-eyed optimists out there are salivating over a Micah Parsons type scenario where you take this linebacker from college and you make him a primarily an edge rusher and he dominates the NFL. And certainly we all hope that that's what happens. He has the talent to do that. It certainly looks like they got great value at that spot when they're picking number 31 there. And you just can kind of judge these picks sometimes by how the rest of the NFL reacts, right? The rest of the NFL's like, oh no, they got another one. So that makes me feel good about the pick. I do question what their edge rush rotation is going to look like, though, for 2025. And understanding the offseason's not over, guys are going to get cut in training camp. And, there are still going to be some additions to this roster as the summer and early fall roll along. But I think for a lot of us, we were penciling Campbell in as part of the edge rush rotation. And it sounds, from what you're saying, that may not be the case, at least maybe even in September. As the season goes along, like with DeJean, he probably works his way up, works his way in, and maybe he becomes an important part of the rotation. But to me, then it still leaves them light there. And that's still an area that they need to address. I mean, unless they decide to keep Bryce Huff and Bryce Huff becomes the player that they thought they were getting when they signed him last offseason. And he's not going to be an every down edge guy, but if you can be a guy who's going to rush the passer on passing down, second and long, third downs and whatnot, then that mitigates the concern a little bit. But, if people were thinking like this is going to replace Josh Sweat in 2025, it doesn't sound like that's going to be the case. So kind of a work in progress there on the edge still, if Jihad Campbell isn't going to be ready to go week 1.
Yeah, I'm glad. Real quick, just follow up, Zander.
Yep.
I'm glad you brought up Bryce Huff because I'm starting to think, and John's a baseball guy, so I assume you're a Moneyball fan. I love that movie. I bring it up all the time. I think Howie may have Billy Bean's Vic Fangio a little bit, to the point of in the movie, which is a lot, they don't talk about the pitching of the A's and
no
Tejada
Barry
and things.
Zito, Mark Mulder,
exactly.
Miguel Tejada, all that.
But
Yeah,
it's Hollywood.
Right.
But at one point in the movie, Brad Pitt trades, I think it was Carlos Pena at the time, to force the manager, it's Philip Seymour Hoffman, but Art Howe, to play Scott Hatteberg, which, again, Hollywood. But it happens all the time in sports. GM, coach disagree. How does the GM get the coach to relook at a player he paid $51 million to? Have to look at him.
Yeah.
I think that's where we're going with Bryce Huff. That's not going to excite people, but I think that's might be where we're going, John.
Well, it is kind of funny. So let's kind of rewind the tape and let's think about the kind of players the Eagles have been picking up in free agency, at least some of the 1-year contract guys. They're guys like Bryce Huff, guys who 2 years ago had a big season and then either due to injury or lack of performance, in Bryce Huff's case, both last year, fell off. This is typically like if he had done that for the Broncos these last 2 years, I guarantee you he's a guy Howie Roseman would be looking to add to the edge pass rush rotation because he'd probably come cheap. He'd be looking for a bounce back season. He'd be looking to make good on a contract that he had signed the offseason before. At least you'd think so. I don't know. I can't get in the mind of Bryce Huff, so I don't. Maybe he is one of those guys that just is. I got my money. I'm good, but I don't want to assume that. So I'll look at a player like Bryce Huff and say, this is now kind of a Howie Roseman guy. It's interesting because Howie signed him at the top of the market where the thinking was they're not going to play him. They're not going to keep him and try and get him on track. Whereas if it's anybody else, and if he'd done this for another team, Howie Roseman, I think this is the kind of guy he would be looking to add, thinking maybe we can get somebody on the cheap as a bounce back guy. He's shown that he has the ability to be an impact pass rusher in the NFL, and let's give him a shot. Let's make him part of the rotation. Let's make him our number 3, number 4 edge rusher and see what we've got.
John, you just heard the quote from Howie. I'm not sure if you heard the full thing, but the state is not worried about Jihad Campbell long term. Okay, the state-run media, as we brought up earlier in the show. Are you worried about it? You just draft this guy, John, in the first round. Got 2 knees, 2 shoulders. It's like, good. Holy moly. What do you think of the Jihad Campbell injuries? Any concern for you on that front?
I'm not overly concerned. I think you have to trust the Eagles medical personnel. They don't usually, when they target a player like this, they don't usually wash out, right? They usually have a pretty good indication of whether or not somebody is going to be healthy, whether or not somebody is going to be able to play out his rookie contract, that he's going to be the elite player that he was in college. Certainly you worry about injuries taking something away from what made a college player great enough to be drafted number 31 overall. But I also think too, when you're drafting number 31 overall, you're looking for a guy that you would have a first round grade on. And as we talked about in this draft for the first, for the first 24 picks, maybe there is a first round grade on players. And then after that, the guys at the back end, typically in this draft, had mostly second round grades. My guess is Jihad Campbell was somebody the Eagles had given a first round grade to. And when you're picking at 31, you kind of roll the dice on the injuries and you say, listen, it's the end of the first round. We're the defending Super Bowl champions. We're, if this is our one shot to get an impact player here in the first round, let's roll the dice and see if if it's like if it's a back issue, I think alarm bells go off, right? If there's, but you're talking about a shoulder, you're talking about those are things I think the Eagles can work through with Jihad Campbell. Everybody seems optimistic that it's not going to be a problem. So, this is one of those kinds of things. Until I see something to worry about, I'm not going to worry about it just yet. But it's certainly concerning anytime you pick a player who's got injuries and may not be able to participate in any of the summer activities in their rookie season. And like Howie Roseman said, you're picking at the very back end of the first round of each of these rounds. It's kind of more of a long game in this draft as opposed to say, we got to get this guy on the field in week 1.
Yeah, I think it's smart. And to your point before, John, about the rest of the league wringing their hands. Well, you could prevent the Eagles from getting these players, the rest of the league. But they don't have, and there's a lot, I talk about it all the time. One of the advantages Howie has and Howie has earned, he's got a longer rope. You know,
Yep.
some of these GMs are GMing for their job, and coaches are coaching for their job, and they don't want a guy who's not going to be there week one. They don't want to wait. It's as short-sighted as it seems. 6 weeks to them could be their career. So that's a big advantage that Jeffrey Lurie has created by his patience and stewardship of the Eagles. So I always like to give Jeffrey credit for that, because the Eagles are capable of doing things like this, or feel they can, and other teams just aren't willing to do it. And that's how guys like Nolan Smith and now Jihad Campbell end up in Philadelphia. Anybody could have had him, and they said, risk reward isn't worth it. But I do want to go on, because I think if Jihad's not there in training camp for most of training camp, and I expect that to be the case, I think there's even a greater microscope, fair or unfair, and it's probably unfair, on the second round pick, Andrew Makuba. And there's an opening there. There's an opportunity. You don't even have to worry about, is he going to play edge rusher? Is he going to play off ball line? He's going to be a safety. He's going to be competing to be a starting safety opposite Reed Blankenship. 5'11", 186 pounds, and he plays like he thinks he's 206 pounds. Little concerning. I went through that with Avonte Maddox. Any concern from that standpoint, just about some of the size deficiencies?
Yeah, I mean, he's 15 pounds heavier than me, and we're the same height. So that gives me a frame of reference as to how slight he is. But, you know,
all right, you're showing off. You're showing off, though, John.
That's not a humble brag. Trust me, it's not a humble brag. We had those concerns about Devontae Smith, and Devontae Smith has proven to be one of the more durable players on this team, and playing at an elite level. Now it's a different position, right? Devontae Smith's game is based on speed. It's based on athleticism. It's based on avoiding contact. But there have been certainly times where he's gotten crunched and gotten back up. And that was always the worry with him, is his ability to stay healthy given his size. So Makuba, when you're 175, 180 pounds and you're trying to be the battering ram, these boys in the NFL are bigger than the ones you played in college. So that does concern me, that he would get himself hurt maybe more often than somebody else who might be a little bit larger at that particular position, because safety is a physical position. It's maybe a little bit less so than when Andre Waters and Wes Hopkins were back there doing their thing, but it's a lot of coverage now as opposed to being an impact run stopper. But you still need him to be able to do that, and you still need to be to get him in the box every once in a while, and to be able, if the linebackers are having trouble, if the defensive tackles are having trouble stopping up the running lanes, you need the safety to fill in, get into those gaps and bring those running backs down, and to bring tight ends down over the middle, and to deliver those kinds of hits. And so that the talent's there. I love the mentality. And I think here's the thing I will say: if you are that size, you are safer having that aggressive mentality than if you are playing more passive, right? We know in the NFL, guys get hurt, generally speaking, when they're trying not to get hurt. When you are the aggressor and you're looking to inflict the damage as opposed to trying to avoid getting damaged, you're more likely to stay healthy that way, even if you're more slight than, say, another safety who might be playing that position or who might have been available. So I'll take the talent, I'll take the athleticism at a slightly smaller stature, and I'll take the mentality of the aggressive player over the opposite of that, and roll the dice and see what happens. And I do think it's interesting who will win that training camp battle, Sidney Brown or Makuba. Brown's been here for a number of years, but there's a reason he lost the job. And why they went out and got CJ before the start of last year. So I think my guess is they would want the second round pick to win that job out of training camp.
We'll see what happens. John, I want to zoom out for a sec, just get your thoughts on the overall draft. You know, what you thought of what the Eagles did in the draft, the value you thought they got out of it. No tight end. Did anything stick out from you that was a concerning point? What did you think overall of the Eagles draft? They got 10 new players, which is a big class.
Yeah, and a lot of there's a fair number of these guys who won't make the roster. You know, I mean, they just don't have enough roster spots for all of the picks that they made. So it'll be interesting to see who ends up, you know, some of these guys will make the practice squad and they'll hold on to them that way, but not all of them. It's going to be hard to keep all of them on hand. I would think anyway. We'll see. it's obviously a defensive heavy draft this time around. And we kind of knew that that's the direction this was going to go. You basically have the entire offensive line set. Even at guard, where you don't know who the starter is going to be, you have a couple of in-house options already that it's hard to imagine a draft pick would have been able to supplant them. There was a thought that if a good tackle fell to them late in the first round, that you could envision as Lane Johnson's eventual replacement, you might have gone in that direction. But it sounds like Lane wants to play another couple of years, so you can punt that to next year when you have some more draft picks. So they lost a lot on defense this spring. They needed to supplement and basically rebuild the defense. And it's pretty clear what they're doing. All the money is on the offensive side of the ball. On the defensive side of the ball, they're trying to build it up young. They're building through the draft. They're trying to make value adds in free agency. And you take the big swing when you need to. Bryce Huff last year, of course, they re-signed Zach Bond, which was an absolute must-have. I think they made the right decision going with him as opposed to Milton Williams or Josh Sweat. But, letting Darius Slay go made sense. I still question the CJ-GJ trade. We'll kind of see how that works out. But it's clear, like, you want to get value from the defense, and the way you do that is through the draft. They had some holes to fill, and the way they did it in this draft with their first 5 picks all being on defense, it's to kind of fill those reserve gaps, second string, third string linebackers, rotational defensive tackles here in their rookie season. Mac McWilliams, the cornerback that they took in the 5th round, it sounds like that's Keely Ringo's job now. They feel really good about that, and we'll see kind of, what that training camp battle shakes out to be. I think when you're the Super Bowl champions and you're picking at the end of every round, that's kind of how you have to approach the draft. Like, take the best guy available. You can't really look for positions of need at that point. The Eagles don't really have a whole lot of quote unquote need. So it made sense to me what they did. You mentioned tight end. I think that's a very interesting position not to have addressed in a draft that was deep in tight ends. You guys were talking about it right before I came on. I have written for Bleeding Green Nation about this. I think it would be a mistake to trade Dallas Goedert. I think they really should do what they can to, sign him to an extension, but maybe it's not anything that guarantees money after this year, but just if you need to bring cap numbers down or whatever, figure something out with Dallas Goedert so that you keep him in the fold here for at least one more run with this offense. Because there's no alternative. There's no answer. I don't, the Grant Calcaterra, like you guys said, he's not a starter. The other guys that they brought in, they're third stringers, right? Or maybe they're second stringers, like if you moved on from Calcaterra. But you really want to have that number one tight end. How often does Jalen Hurts look for that tight end in critical third downs when he needs 8 yards? It's important in this offense. And so I would have preferred them to get.
Yeah, how good was Dallas Goedert in the postseason?
Right.
I'm with you, John. I've been saying it for a long time, but the business comes into it from the standpoint, if you're Dallas Goedert and you see, he's not George Kittle, but you see what George Kittle just got on his extension. And George is a little bit older than Dallas Goedert. So I think Dallas Goedert sees this as his last opportunity to get multiple years of guaranteed money. But the good thing for the Eagles is he's now been on the market. His agent's been able to talk to other teams about trade possibilities. Indianapolis, a natural spot because of Shane Steichen. They drafted Tyler Warren. It's late in the process. Everybody's got their budgeting done. I don't think that contract's out there for Dallas Goedert right now. So these two sides got to get together and figure something out and run it back for one. Do the Josh Sweat thing, but not with the pay cut. He's out next year, but run it back for one more year. I always said, if Dallas Goedert had the same career, you brought it up with Bryce Huff, but he was on Denver, and you said, boy, where would Dallas Goedert be a good fit? Number one would be the Philadelphia Eagles. They're ready to win. They need a tight end.
Mm-hmm.
They got to work it out at this point.
Yeah.
Both sides.
Yeah. I thought, get Dallas Goedert this year and draft a tight end to have as the replacement moving forward. That would have been that would have been my plan this offseason is, we're definitely making sure Dallas Goedert stays in the fold here for 2025. And let's also get his successor in the draft, right? If that's a 2nd round pick or our 3rd round pick, let's get his successor. Let's get him in the house. And like they did with Goedert, when they drafted Goedert and Zach Ertz was still in the fold. And they did when Brent Selleck was the starting tight end and they drafted Zach Ertz, right? That's kind of been how they've done it at that position. You have a mentor and a mentee. And so that's kind of what I was thinking would happen in the draft this time. And obviously the needs on defense superseded the need to be able to do that here in this draft. But because they didn't add anybody and because there's really nothing in free agency, it doesn't seem like there's any other teams out there. I mean, the Ravens are looking, that's the other thing that complicates things. The Ravens could be looking to trade Andrews as well. And so there could be multiple tight ends on the market for looking for places and teams where there may not be a need for a tight end, especially a high priced tight end. So it makes too much sense for Goddard to come back and to be here in 2025. The trade talk never made any sense to me because there's no succession plan for this year.
Yeah. And the thing about it, John, is I still think they should have drafted a tight end, even if you're bringing Goddard back, because now you got 4 tight ends if Goddard's here on a 1-year deal.
Yeah.
So what do we, we're going to be in the same boat next year. Now, I guess maybe I'm thinking too far.
Well, Howie was asked that question yesterday. And I didn't put it on my Twitter or anything, but X, sorry, Elon, but he did bring it up and he said, to John's point, John was bringing up, you're drafting at the end of the round. You should take the best player available. He said it just didn't fit, at that particular position in each round. It's not like he was not trying to. It's not like he wasn't going to draft a tight end.
Yeah, right. I got you.
And I don't know how many tight ends they like, but as John pointed out, it was a very deep tight end draft by conventional wisdom, at least. You figure they liked a couple of them, but it just didn't fit.
10 picks. I mean, I know you don't want to reach too far, but I mean, day 3 pick. You know what I mean? We are throwing darts, so but I get it.
Well, and they had all these picks, and if it depends where you're drafting when the tight end runs come. Sometimes those runs come and it's like, it's too far for us to get there. But they didn't trade up really in this draft at all. They moved up 1 spot in the first round, and other than that, they moved back, and they didn't use any capital to move up. Like if there was a tight end that they really liked in the 2nd round, they could have done that. I just think they were prioritizing other positions in this draft, prioritizing defense and just trying to get as much depth in for Vic Fangio as possible. And really just seems like they just kind of punted the decision, which is fine if they keep Dallas Goedert. That's the thing. Like, okay, fine, punt it the next year. You can't have everything, but don't get rid of Dallas Goedert then. He's got to stay in the house.
Right. All right, John, take Campbell out of the fold for this question. Who's your favorite draft pick for the Philadelphia Eagles? Maybe a guy you think is going to be a contributor. It doesn't have to be this year, but somebody you think that's going to be a long-term contributor to this team.
Well, I think Ty Robinson from Nebraska is a guy I really like. And again, these guys don't have to be super flashy. But he's got a lot of athleticism. You get him in the 4th round, and I think he's going to play right away. I think he's going to be in that tackle rotation right away. Now, I know the Eagles picked up Jordan Davis's 5th-year option, so they're going to have him in the fold. They're going to have Jalen Carter in the fold. They've got Ojima in the fold, and you bring this guy in. That could be. I kind of like what he brings to the table. I know he's a little bit of an older draft pick. The Eagles did a couple of older player draft picks, more than they usually do, which again speaks to kind of their position in the draft. And, beggars can't be choosers when you're picking at the end of each of these different rounds and stuff. Yeah. So, but that's a guy I really liked. I think he could provide some real productivity here in 2025. And the Eagles have a history of these last couple of years of some of these mid-round, later round defensive line draft picks playing well right away. We've seen that with a couple of different guys. We've seen that with Ojima. We saw that with the kid with 2.5 sacks in the Super Bowl. Name just flew right out of my head.
Melt Williams or Josh Sweat.
Josh Sweat.
Well, I'm thinking not 2.5 sacks. But anyway, it's the 3rd round pick from last year.
Melton Williams.
Alex Hunt.
Alex Hunt.
Oh, Alex Hunt. Okay.
I could not extract the name.
I got caught up in the 2.5 sacks. Yeah.
I know. I said the wrong thing.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you the other guy, and it might just be because he's a quarterback, but Kyle McCord is interesting.
I agree with you, man.
He is. Especially, he's like, Tanner McKee, they drafted late a couple years ago, and now he's their backup quarterback. He's shown that he can, at least he's shown the Eagles that he can be this team's starter if Jalen Hurts goes down for a Super Bowl contender. And McCord just threw up crazy numbers for Syracuse last year. Obviously a transfer into Syracuse in a pass-happy offense last season. He's not going to have the same career Donovan McNabb had as a Syracuse drafted quarterback from the Eagles, but he's kind of a fun player. I'll enjoy watching him in training camp. And, this team develops quarterbacks pretty well. I don't know if I'd call him a factory, but I'd be interested to see exactly what they get out of McCord here.
Yeah. And who knows, if he plays well in the preseason and, quarterbacks are assets. So same thing could happen with Tanner McKee. All of a sudden they could be worth something. Jalen Hurts sprains an ankle. They play 2 games well, people will be throwing second-round picks at you because it's such a quarterback-desperate league. Happened with A.J. Peely back in the day. It's not a bad idea to bring in quarterbacks with some upside if you can develop them and they can be assets down the road. I do want to wrap up the tight end talk just from the standpoint of, I was looking at it and I said, because after Howie said what he said, well, it just didn't fit. So the 2 guys I focused on day 3 were Gunnar Helm, who ended up going 120 overall, the tight end from Texas. Now, he strikes me as an Eagles-y type guy because he's athletic, can run a little bit. They took Ty Robinson at 111. So now Eagles fans have already gotten the players. So, but if you'd ask them today, would you rather have Ty Robinson or Gunnar Helm? They go, I'll take Ty Robinson. Now, none of us know, but
right.
But I think people are high on Ty. And then Mitchell Evans is a guy, and from my standpoint, I focused on Mitchell Evans because he's the rare blocking tight end, and the Eagles are Saquon Barkley, offensive line. Let's get that guy who can block. And seeing how the Eagles drafted, they probably didn't like him because they just went all athletes, basically up and down the board. But even if they did, he went 163, and that would have been 2 spots after they drafted Smile Munden, the linebacker from Georgia, tremendously athletic. So I see what Howie's saying about the tight ends. It just didn't fit. And I'll also add, if you look at the second round, when they drafted Andrew Makuba at 64, he did say they were trying to trade up. Now, who knows who that was for? Could have been a tight end. Yeah. But, it's tougher to trade up when you're at the bottom of rounds because the picks aren't as valuable. And even future picks, because everybody has that mentality. Well, the Eagles are still going to be good. It's just a matter of how good.
Right.
So their picks are going to be at the bottom of each round again next year. So I just wanted to add that in because, sometimes people don't believe. And some of what Howie was saying was, if you look at the actual draft board, it kind of fell in a way where, the Eagles probably thought Ty Robinson was better than Gunnar Helm.
Yeah.
And they thought Small Munden was better than Mitchell Evans. And I think that's smart.
Yeah, I do too. And it takes 2 to tango in these in trades on draft day. You got to have another GM who wants what you have. I also wouldn't discount a little bit of Howie inflation when it comes to draft day trades. Obviously, you don't want to do, if you're an opposing team, a whole lot to make the Eagles better. And with Howie Roseman, he has had a tremendous amount of success in the drafts these last few years. If you're another GM, you might be willing to trade with Howie Roseman, but are you going to try to extract a little bit of a higher price from Howie Roseman than maybe you would somebody else? A little bit of Eagles inflation there, Howie inflation, to say, okay, well, we'll help you move up to get the guy that you want, Howie, but maybe we're not following the charts quite as closely in terms of draft position value. Maybe there's a little bit of an upcharge.
And to that point, the Eagles tried to trade up at 22 with the Chargers to get Jihad Campbell. They were trying to go up that far.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
telling me the Eagles got a tariff imposed on them, John?
I think that might be it. Yes, I think there's an NFL trade war with Howie Roseman, and
There
the
might
tariffs
be,
have
yeah.
come.
He
That is
was
correct.
asked that. I have gotten that feeling that guys are frustrated. Some of Howie's peers of how much love. Like yesterday, he was on with Adam Shine, on Mad Dog Radio, and you should go listen to that interview just for Adam Shine's introduction. Like, I mean, Howie's at the point where he can do no wrong, and other people look at it, and I think there's a little jealousy.
Yeah, well, I mean, he got that Bryce Huff signing last year blew up in his face,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
no one talks
No
about
one
it
talks about it. Yeah.
because of because of the smart draft picks. But let's also rewind the clock a little bit. Before last year, all of those Georgia defensive draft picks, the drafts of the previous 2 years, we
Yeah, it
still
wasn't
weren't
looking good. Yeah.
We weren't sure about Nolan Smith. We weren't sure about Jalen Carter. We weren't sure about any of these different guys.
Kobe Dean. Devin White was going to be the guy, John.
Exactly. No one. I mean, the draft they had last year with obviously with Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean and Jalix Hunt balling out, and then Nolan Smith starting to emerge, Josh Sweat coming, having a solid season, but Milton Williams starting. But that all didn't happen until the start of last year. Howie Roseman's drafting these last couple of years came under some criticism because some of these guys that he selected early, we weren't sure what Nolan Smith was going to do. Like, is he going to take a step forward? Is Nakobe Dean going to be reliable? I mean, when Nakobe Dean got hurt 2 years ago, we went into the 2023 season saying, like, man, they are kind of hitching their wagon to this Nakobe Dean's going to be a starting linebacker thing. And he played 2 games and the defense was a mess. So, things can change quickly in a year here in the NFL.
John, talk to me about Jordan Davis. You mentioned the 5th-year option got picked up. Controversial player, not from a, just from a perspective of people are like, how much do you want to pay him? The snap count. What do you see in Jordan Davis? Do you think they'll get a long-term extension done? Do you like picking up the 5th-year option, or are you against it? What's your thoughts on Jordan Davis?
I'm in favor of picking up the 5th-year option. I don't see a long-term contract getting done with him. You're going to have to pay Jalen Carter. You're going to have to pay Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean at some point. It's not going to happen right away. But I think you have to make a decision with Nakobe Dean. You're going to have to make a decision with Nolan Smith. I think all of those guys would be at the front of the line ahead of Jordan Davis in terms of a long-term contract extension. Now, what are the numbers? What is Jordan Davis going to want? What is he going to demand? What would the market dictate? If there's a deal to be had there where, you're paying less than market value or you're getting a team-friendly discount, okay, I'd have that conversation, and then I could believe something like that would happen. And Jordan Davis is a solid player. The problem is that he was picked very high in the first round. Was he 11, right?
13.
Yeah. So they were talking up, when he was drafted, he was a run-stopping defensive tackle, but he had all the athleticism, it appeared, and all of the tools to make you think he could also be a pass-rushing defensive tackle. We have not seen that part of his game show up yet. The thing is, we haven't needed to see that part of his game show up. What he does in the run game is effective, and it's necessary. It just doesn't get a lot of glory. It doesn't get a lot of headlines. You can't even really see what Jordan Davis does a lot of times. But with Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis next to each other, offensive lines have to make a decision. Who do we double team? And so I think in that way, he helps Jalen Carter a little bit. He helps any of the other rotational defensive tackles who'll be in there with him, and he does a good job stopping the run. I just think there's a ceiling on his game. He's not going to be a guy, I don't think, who gets 6 or 7 sacks a season. He'll pop up for 1 or 2 here or there like he did in the Super Bowl. But he is what he is. And so I think he's a valuable player. 5th-year rookie contract, great. Sign me up for that. I don't see a long-term contract extension coming.
Yeah, I'm with you. And we were talking about Howie in relation to Bryce Huff and, taking Jordan Davis at 13 overall. And I've been talking about this while, like, who's doing this evaluation, John, saying this guy's going to be a great interior pass rusher? You took a 2-down player, 13th overall.
Yeah.
And that creates problems on the business front because people don't see the value, whether that's fair or not. I think it's kind of unfair, but they don't see in the value. If you're the 13th pick overall in the draft, you have to do this. And people want to see sacks. In what world, I say this, John, you had Jalen Carter in Milton Williams as your main interior pass rushers last year. I think one was 1 by PFF, one was 3 by PFF. In what world would you want Jordan Davis on the field in 3rd and long?
Right.
I mean, like you could say people are hoping for it. Why would you even hope for it? Why would you want those guys off the field? Now, you lose Milton Williams, but still with Moro Ojomo. Like, I'm not going to ask Moro Ojomo to go play nose tackle.
Right.
And I'm not going to ask Jordan Davis to do what Moro Ojomo does.
It is interesting. What is interesting, Ojomo was a 7th round pick.
Yeah.
And I think you could argue, has more impact maybe than the guy they picked number 13. And that's not to say that, Jordan Davis isn't a good player, but just in what they do, those two guys, it's the where they were drafted in the production level. Yeah. It's just very interesting.
That's where I'll push back. I would say Jordan Davis helps you to get to 3rd and long.
Sure.
But to your point, and I think where you're right is, but Moro's going to get the sack, and people think that's more valuable than turning 1st and 10 into 2nd and 10.
Yeah.
And maybe it isn't, but it's always going to be seen as the bigger impact. So I agree with you from a perception standpoint, but I think that's the problem with Jordan Davis. And I've used that, and Zander can tell you from day one when they drafted, I said, this is a very esoteric pick. I'm not sure people are going to understand it. And I don't think people understand it to this day.
No, I think you're right. People looked at a Jordan Davis and thought Jerome Brown. And it's not that.
Or Dexter Lawrence.
Yeah. Just not that guy. And that's okay. Yeah. Like you said, he fills a role. Do you want to sign a long-term contract extension for a run stopping defensive tackle? That's the question. How much do you value that?
$15 million a year gets it done. Do you do it or no?
I don't think I do it right now. I think I want to use that money in other places.
I think I'm doing it, folks.
Well, you might have to. I think 15 would be a bargain, but to John's point, you in theory, you're going to have to sign Nolan Smith along with Jalen Carter next year. If Nolan continues to play the way he played. And then 2026, your Quinion and Cooper are up. So you got to make these tough decisions. Similar to this year, when you see CJ, it seems like they put this demarcation line of, all right, these are the foundational guys. And if you're above it, we're going to pay you, Zach Bond. If you're below it, we got to go in a different direction. I think Jordan Davis probably going to be below it. That's my guess. That's my heads up. But at John Stolness, make sure you follow John on the X platform. Does a tremendous job at Bleeding Green Nation covering this football team. And always his Phillies, he's a big baseball guy if you're a Phillies fan. By the way, a lot of I don't know, John. I have a lot of Philly fans, and I'm in this chat, and I'm a Yankees fan, so I'm very believe me, I'm very objective about the Phillies, and I'm like, it's a good team, but I think in Philadelphia you have this football mentality that bleeds over into baseball. Every game is like life and death. Yeah, it's baseball. It's 162. Yeah. Well, you're gonna have some lulls. You're gonna have some high. They're gonna make the playoffs. How good are they gonna be? Your early take on the Phillies, John.
Well, I mean, that's a Northeast thing too, by the way. Boston does it. Your New York teams do it. You know, the fans do it. They were killing Juan Soto already early in the season. It's very interesting.
You're right.
This baseball team looks like the same one we've seen the last few years.
That's my concerns, John.
Yeah. I mean, for better or worse, right? I mean, they're going to win 90 plus games probably. Will they win the division? I don't know. It's a very tough National League. That it's going to be much tougher to get a wild card this year because there's so many good National League teams. But that being said, I expect them to play in October. It's the thing that's frustrating is when you spend 3 hours watching a team go 2 for 15 with runners in scoring position. There's nothing more infuriating than watching that or watching your bullpen blow a late lead. Two things that we've seen in a lot here in the first month of the season, but they're playing pretty well. You know what? They're not lighting the world on fire, but we're 5 months away from October. So just kind of play over 500, we'll feel what we feel, and all feelings are valid. So, whatever. But I think at the end of the day, they're going to play in October, and they got to perform in October, and we'll see if they can do it or not. I wish it was more nuanced than that. It really isn't.
Yeah. I'm with you. I'm with you. We'll see what ends up happening with him. John, thanks for joining in, man. We appreciate you checking in here on Birds 365. Always good to catch up with you, brother. Make sure you guys read all his Eagles content at Bleeding Green. And if you're a Phillies fan, John just mentioned, John does a great Phillies podcast called Hitting Season. So, John, well done, brother. We'll talk to you again soon. All right, man.
Thanks, guys. Good talking to you.
Thanks,
bud. John Stolness there joining us here on Birds 365. Great stuff from John Stolness. Love getting John on. It's been a little bit since we've talked to John. Good takeaways, John, on the Eagles NFL draft. I'm curious to see how this by the way, I'm surprised to hear you say, now maybe it's just because I haven't framed the question that way to you, but do you not think Jordan Davis is going to get an extension?
No, I don't think he's going to get a long term, because just to our point, but that's under the assumption, like you can't pay everybody. We've been through this, and we've been through it this offseason with Milton Williams and Josh Wentz. And they have this sort of line, and I think he's going to be under it, because I think Nolan's going to be over it. Jalen's obviously going to be over it, Jalen Carter. Quignon's going to be over it. Cooper's going to be over it. Can't pay everybody.
So you've been saying to me, I mean, this is where sometimes I got to differentiate when you're reporting what you think the Eagles are doing versus, what your opinion is. You've been saying this is a placeholder. Is your opinion that they should not, or that they will?
No, for the Eagles, 50-year, when I say that, I mean, 50-year options in general are placeholders for the longer term philosophy. Like, they don't generally, not often, do they let foundational pieces play as a lame duck. And that'll tell you, if they let them play as a lame duck, that'll tell you all you need to know.
So you think there's a chance they do go into the year next year, though, with no new contract, and he's just playing on the 5th-year option? Because I thought that didn't give you any cap flexibility. I thought that's what Howie
doesn't. That's why they don't like doing it.
Yeah.
But the cap is going where it is, and it's going even higher. So $12.9 million isn't exactly $12.9 million of 5 years ago.
So yesterday I said between 15 and 18 is where I think his
I don't think it gets it done. Now, that from Jordan, that's probably where from Jordan's standpoint, like, I'm not taking less than 18. And that might even be lowballing him.
Really? You don't think Jordan knows that, as good of a player as he might think he is, he doesn't understand the limitations and why you can't just pay him what you're paying?
Yeah, but I think his limitations here are not necessarily his limitations elsewhere. Like, he might be a better pass rushing option on some poorer teams, and there's a lot of poorer teams. I'm talking about the Eagles. Again, Milton Williams was number 1. Jalen Carter was number 3. And pass rush, win rates, whatever PFF calls their stupid pass rush stat. And Jalen Carter's really number 1, because Jalen's the one who sees most of the double teams. But you get the point. Jalen helped out Milton more than vice versa. Either way, you can't get much better than that. I guess you could have had 1 and 2. So on this particular team, like, it's insanity to me when people say he's got to be on the field on 3rd down. Well, who are you taking off the field?
All right.
Now, this year, it's a little bit different. We'll see what Moro Ojomo does. We'll see. I don't think Ty Robinson's going to be hitting the ground as a superstar. I think that's more long-term. But I think Moro's a very good pass rusher. And it's hard for me to believe that Jordan Davis is going to be a better pass rusher than Moro Ojomo. Just like it's hard for me to believe that Moro Ojomo could stop the run like Jordan Davis. So, I mean, I want my best run defender on the field on 1st down, 1st and 10. and I want my best pass rushers on the field 3rd and 10. It's pretty simple, but in a different city, there's a lot of bad teams in the NFL if you haven't taken a look. He might be the best option.
Yeah, I think he definitely will be. If 15 to 18 got it done, would you do the deal?
Yes.
Yeah, because I think the cap is going to be up so big. That's like I mean, that's pretty cheap for a defensive tackle.
Yeah. 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 But I don't think that gets it done.
I'm surprised. I think 18 would be a home run for Jordan Davis. But you're right. I mean, look, the open market might give him 22 or 24. Yeah,
maybe. Look at Milton.
I know.
My God.
Yeah, but Milton is a different skill set that's viewed as more valuable in the NFL. Whether it is or it isn't, it's viewed.
Yeah. People pay pass rushers, no doubt about it. But to the point of the Eagles were trying to extend Milton Williams that whole stinking time. He was like, nope.
Well, it doesn't always work when you bet on yourself. So it worked out for him, though.
Yes, it did. Well, at least short term.
I'm predicting a bad year for Milton. Well, he got the money. I mean, even if he fails miserably.
Well, that's what I mean. He goes to a bad team. It might be a 2-year deal. You see this all the time. Goes to a bad team. He's not taking Jalen Carter with him. The expectations. He's on a team that won how many Super Bowls? And he's the highest paid player in franchise history.
I know. It's incredible.
The Tom Brady. Now, people, you could say, obviously, logically, that means nothing to anybody who understands how NFL contracts work. But the vast majority of people don't spend a bunch of time parsing over the business aspect of the NFL. They're just football fans. And if you tell them, hey, Milton Williams is the highest paid player in Patriots history, they're going to expect something. And they're going to expect a star, a superstar. They're going to expect Jalen Carter. And he ain't going to be Jalen Carter.
Milton Williams, I think he's going to have a tough year. I mean, he had Bond behind him. He had everything working for him last year on this defense. Now, credit to him. I'm happy for him. I'm happy he got the money and happy he got paid.
I love that. I love that guy. I'm very
I love the whole story. I love the family, the dad, the mom. I mean, everything was super dope with Milton Williams. So I'm
just saying, and this happens all over the NFL. Pay attention to the guys who got big money this year, any year, and look at them 2 years later.
Yep. So true, John. So true. Remember a couple years back, 4 or 5 years back, when Christian Kirk broke the wide receiver market? Yep. That feels like ages ago because it was like 18 million. Now we're up to like 35 million. We've like doubled in that market. But
Eagles were in on Christian Kirk
until
it got to a point where they said, "Hey, Godspeed." Yeah.
Good stuff there. Let's get to a chat here. We'll take some super chats in hour number 2. If you guys have any questions for John, he's heading down to rookie mini camp kicking off today. I don't know how exciting it'll be, but there will be some pictures of the newest Philadelphia Eagles floating around. Johnny Mac will send any to me, and I'll post them up as well. So keep your eyes out for that. Jay Perfect checks in. What's up, Jay? Member for 5 months. By the way, to all of our members, all right, we got, I want to say almost 350 of you guys, 350 that are members. You guys do get a member chat every month. So it's like a free super chat, not free because you're paying for your membership, but you do get a member chat every month. So make sure you guys use your member chat, and I will always read them. Jay Perfect says, is there any free agents names we should be on the lookout for as potential signing where money makes sense? Justin Simmons, tight end, defensive end. The other thing, John, is like, who else gets cut after June 1? Do more players become available? I think that is interesting.
Well, Justin Simmons was a name I focused on heavily. If they didn't draft a safety, like if they were trying to trade up and drafted a tight end, I would say, yeah, Justin Simmons, he might already be here. But they just drafted Andrew Mukuba.
Right.
So yeah,
does he want to go by Drew Mukuba? I saw that.
He does. He prefers to go by Drew. So yeah, I don't see the fit right now until you get to training camp, and that depends on, like, does Justin Simmons want to wait to training camp? Part of it's on the player's end, maybe he wants to wait for an injury, and Philadelphia might be, Makuba's not ready, and Sidney Brown doesn't seize the job, and Vic isn't comfortable, and he's comfortable with Justin Simmons and they bring him in. But that to me would now be later in the process. Tight end, no. First of all, there's, who are you going to get? B, Dallas Goedert's technically still here. And C, I mean, until they move on from Dallas Goedert, they got plenty of tight end. Plenty. They got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bodies at tight end. They got 7 bodies. And they're fine as long as Dallas Goedert is here. They actually have pretty good depth. If Dallas Goedert leaves, they don't have a headliner. And there are no headliners.
They got depth and only depth, John. That's it.
Yeah. But depth-wise, they're fine.
Yeah, they are.
Even if you look at futures guys like Latu and Muse who can block, Latu was a 3rd-round pick. The Alabama guy, yada yada. More of a receiver. They got plenty of depth. Malik, that's Malik Carr's problem. Like you gotta show you're better than Cam Latu.
There's another guy in here, he's commenting. Xander, go check out Malik Carr. He's gonna be the starter. Where's that guy? Where's my guy in the chat? Let me see if I can find him.
Dude, you got to have your NFL card taken away if you think Malik Carr is starting a tight end for the Philadelphia Eagles in 2025.
I'm telling you, man. I'm not making it up. Let me see if I can find the chat. All right. Here he is, Matthew Branch. Watch Malik Carr highlights, Xander. Dude's a beast and a steal. All right. So he thinks he's going to be a steal. Look, here it is. I knew. I saw it. Malik Carr will be our starting tight end next year. There you go, John.
Oh, my Lord. Do you people understand he's not even a member of the team yet? He's here as a rookie tryout player. That is not a good sign.
Undrafted free agent. He was a tryout player.
Yeah, he's a tryout. He's not an undrafted free agent. That's what I brought up earlier in the show. He's not on the team. He's coming here as a tryout player. Darius Cooper, these are people you don't even know. Lance Dixon, Maxon Hook, Giles Jackson, Brandon Johnson, Montrell Johnson, BJ Mays, Taylor Morin, Holland Pierce, Shunderick Powell. Those are the undrafted free agents. If you think a tryout player is coming in to start for the Super Bowl champions at tight end, I can't help you. That level of insanity. I mean, this, I joke about the Harrison Bryant guy. Harrison Bryant guy might as well be George Kittle.
Gronkowski compared to some of these freaking dudes.
Are you kidding me?
There we go.
The starting tight end for the Philadelphia Eagles? Oh, he's got to beat out Nick Muse to make the roster.
Nicky Muse, baby. Oh, here we go. JD3, check it in. JD, I'll get to your other super chat as well. Hook a toe strap to Carr and Harrison Bryant and watch the Mackey Award-winning Bryant drag him around the field all day long.
Well, yeah, he probably could do that to Carr, but yeah, not Dallas.
JD3 again says, any number predictions for the new guys? I want to see a guy turn 52 popular in Philly because of Ray Lewis and Pat Willis. Pat Willis, great player.
My prediction is Jeff Kerr will care mightily, and I will care nada.
John won't even respond to your question, even with the $5.
Honestly, no. I get fans like numbers. I'll report them when I get them.
Yeah,
I'll take a picture of the roster. You can see all the numbers, and I always warn you, don't take them as gospel this time of year because guys will get cut who have entrenched numbers, and guys will move to different numbers as you get down to 53. So don't buy the jerseys yet. Yeah, I just, it's not all that meaningful to me, but I realize it's meaningful to other people. But like Jihad Campbell, he's not getting 11, so he's got to pick something else.
Jihad Campbell was 30, I thought, at Bama.
I thought he was 11. I thought he had AJ's number.
Did he switch? He was 30 at one point. He was 11, but was he? I thought he was 30 at one point. He was definitely 11 when they drafted him.
He might have.
I thought I saw 30 somewhere.
Possible.
Let me look it up.
That's I don't really care that much about.
He was
numbers.
11, but
I had heard he was 11.
Yeah, I think he might have started at 30 because there is a picture of him out there in 30. That's what I saw.
Yeah. I don't pay much attention to numbers, but
Yeah.
I know he's not getting AJ Brown's number if that's the number.
He's not.
If he was 11, he's not getting AJ Brown's number.
The numbers are yeah, he wore 30, changed to 11. I was going to say, there you go. He was 11 at IMG. Yeah, he's not getting 11. Sorry, Jihad Campbell. All right. It was funny. I watched some video that the Browns put out of like Mason Graham trying to pick his number, and he's like, "Man, you don't have anything left." And then he's like 94, and they're like, guys like, you're not getting 94, big guy, because it's Myles Garrett. So, it's funny, but all these guys want numbers, and there's very slim pickings for them to pick from. So we'll see what happens. But I side with John, and I know it gave away a lot of jerseys last year, but if I'm buying a jersey, I'm buying an old school. I'm buying a guy that's already
already entrenched. Because and nowadays, because they changed the rules, you guys are changing numbers all over the place. Guys want single digit numbers. Before you weren't allowed to do that. So now you have everybody wants 0.
Right.
Everybody wants a single digit number.
If somebody wants 0, Bryce Huff better back off real quick.
Well, around the league too, a lot of 0s I see popping up. But yeah, I mean, Kaylee Ringo changed his number this year, to 7. Josh Sweat changed it last year to 19.
Brian Pumper's been talking about the change to 7 in his super chats. He called it. What does he call him? What's Pumper's nickname now for Johnny Wilson or for Keely Ringo, who's 7? Pump, are you in here? I don't think Pumper's in here yet today. He'll be in here later.
Josh Sweat went from he went to 19 last year. I saw in Arizona he picked 10. I asked Josh why he changed. He's like, I just felt like change. There was no rhyme or reason behind it. So yeah, if you're a jersey person, I would not recommend. I would go the old school route.
I'm not a jersey guy.
All right, if you're a Ringo guy, if you're a Ringo family guy, what was he, 22? I don't even remember. I think he was 22. Now he's 7.
Yeah, he was 22, yeah.
Now he's 7.
There he is. You mentioned Ringo. Pumper appears from the ashes. Let's go, Pump. My 7th heaven. That's what he calls him now. Oh, my goodness. Pump, you are a funny dude. I'll give you that, my brother. All right, let's get to our commercial break. When we come back, got plenty to talk about here in hour number 2. Rookie mini camp kicking off. I'm sure John's got to check on his tree people. He's got the tree stuff going on. We talked about that a little earlier in the week, so hopefully everything's going good over there. Johnny Mac will take our commercial break. Any comments from the chat we'll take as well in hour number 2. And I got some good questions for John on this draft class as we kick off rookie mini camp today. John mentioned the practice is what, 145, you said?
150.
150. So we'll see when they get out there. Good stuff there. We'll be right back on Birds 365.
The following is a real testimonial from the father of a young injured victim.
I didn't think she was going to make it.
Major Perry's daughter was the victim of a horrific accident caused by someone else's negligence.
If you don't find the right counselor, law firm that you're looking for, you will get lost in the wilderness.
Badly injured? Call the Fritz and Bianculli Law Firm at 215-458-2222 and find out why they say, "We got this."
Your financial future is on the line. Are you ready for what's next? At Leone & Company Wealth Management, we help young professionals, business owners, and pre-retirees navigate the complexities of building and protecting wealth. For young professionals, we'll help you grow your wealth, plan for your future, and make the most of your hard-earned dollars. For business owners, we provide strategies to protect your company, manage risks, and create a lasting legacy for both your business and personal wealth. For pre-retirees, we'll design a plan to secure your retirement, ensuring you can live comfortably and confidently in your next chapter. Whether you're just starting out, managing a thriving business, or preparing for retirement, we're here to help you take control of your financial future. The first consultation is on us. Get the advice you need without the cost. Let's make your financial vision a reality. Take the next step. Scan the QR code to schedule your free consultation today. And of course, go Birds.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
In our hometown, we all look out for each other. We step up to keep our communities going strong. And at Independence Blue Cross, we're here to keep you going strong as the #1 health insurer in the region. No IBX is always looking out for you.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Welcome back in, everybody, to Birds 365, a Football Friday edition of the show as rookie minicamp is set to kick off. We will get our first look at the rookies in Eagle Green here at the facility today. Johnny Mack will be down there. Practice kicks off at 1:50 p.m. Eastern time. Should be a nice hot day out there for Johnny Mack and the rest of the beat reporters. John, what kind of availability do you have today? Probably not much, right?
No, just some player interviews. I imagine Nick Sirianni is going to speak to us, but he's not on the schedule. Probably after practice, but that would be my guess. But technically, some of the rookies are going to talk before practice. It's not like the old days when we used to be able to get them on the field. Again, state-run media has become a thing. So they're going to bring them up to the podium, because there's a lot to me, rookie camp, and that's disappointing because the most interesting stories in rookie camp tend to be the underreported guys, some of the undrafted free agents. Malik Carr, I can't talk to Malik Carr, the undrafted guys. I remember when Everett Golson was here, he was the quarterback of Notre Dame. He came here as a tryout player. Like, that was an interesting story. And I got to talk to him. We can't talk to, like, the Samoan kid. We can't talk to him.
Why can't you talk to them? Just because I guess they're not like members of the team?
No, because they don't want us to. They prevent it. We used to be able to talk to them.
Well, I don't get what is the protect? Like, what are they trying to protect?
Good question. Good question.
This team is super hyper focused on.
Well, they're not. It's the entire league's that way.
Yeah, it is. It is. But like, even listening to Howie's interviews, I mean, you could tell every answer he's.
Oh, he said the same.
He's jumping around.
It's funny because Ed Kratz and I, we have a chat with other people, with all the aggregation people, and we jockey back and forth on who's going to do what story. And we were talking about the interview Howie did, and I said, and he was going to do the Campbell injury stuff, and I was going to do him talking about, rebuilding the roster again, the right, making tough decisions, yada yada. He's said it all before, but when he does these things, it becomes news, and they ask us to do it. So anyway, we're jockeying back and forth, and like, I'm talking, well, I'm going to do this from the interview. And I'm like, and Ed was like, oh, I didn't hear that, because Ed was talking about the WIP. I didn't even know he's on WIP. And Ed didn't know he was on Mad Dog Radio. So we were talking about two different interviews, and then I'd listened to WIP after, exact same thing. I mean, to a word, like political talking points. Yeah. But they're not the only team. The entire league has gone that way.
Yeah.
You know, I used to be able to walk around the practice field with Mike Tice after every practice. You know, he would take the beat writers. His way of getting exercise after practice was just walking around the practice field. And while he did it, he took a small group of beat writers with him.
All right.
That shit don't happen anymore.
Oh, it sucks because I think that would be like, imagine that in today's day and age where you can talk about it on YouTube, and we have the different platforms to get that information out there. Man, I wish that you still had that type of access.
Yeah, we all do.
I know.
You know, but it's just not everybody, you know, like you said, well, there's going to be no access on Saturday. Well, fans get to see anything. Well, that's part of it. Yes, they will, but only from Eagles.com. They want everything in-house. And to be true, the NFL deserves some credit because it would be far worse if the NFL didn't force them, because the NFL realizes, like, if you don't have the coverage of the league is a big part of the popularity of the league. And they do realize that. And the only reason they give us anything is because the NFL forces them to. And I'm not picking on the Eagles from that. That's everybody. That's everybody. Believe me, Kevin O'Connell's the coach of Minnesota. I don't know anybody there because it's a different generation, but they ain't walking around the practice field with Kevin O'Connell.
No. And they're not changing it because the NFL's ratings keep going up. So it's not like they got any reason to change that.
Well, and there's, unfortunately, and I talk about, there's a lot of people who don't value independent information, and they want, you know, you're not going to hear any negativity at Eagles.com.
Right. John, you don't even hear negativity anymore from people who are supposed to be independent and objective.
Oh, there's certain, but you can see
I mean, there's some, but like I'm telling you, you go on. There's
it's
a lot.
pretty easy to see the real reporters versus
I agree. Yeah,
glorified. You know, like McLean and Berman, and you know, they do it the right way. It's pretty easy to see the people that are glorified fans with a credential.
All right. Rashid Mixon checking in. Good stuff there, Johnny Mac. Rashid says, my nephew, Nasir Morgan, was invited to Eagles minicamp. 6'5", 210, wide receiver, runs a 4.49. He went to Delaware Valley from Atlantic City, New Jersey. Wish him luck. How about that, Johnny Mac?
See, there we go. There we go. Now, see, that's an interesting story. Now, Rashid brings that up. I'd like to talk to him now. I am not able to talk to him, unfortunately.
Rashid, can you connect us? Can we get? You're going to get him in trouble. Actually, the Eagles would be like, "Why are you talking to JAKIB Sports?" You know, they'll get all mad at him. But hey, Rashid, I'll be wishing your nephew luck. That's pretty cool, man. We got one of our listeners here who's
they need work out bodies at receiver, by the way.
Yeah, they do.
They did sign another guy, Giles Jackson. So they have two undrafted guys now. But they need some bodies at receiver. Receiver is a position you generally bring a lot of bodies. Receiver and D-back, you bring a lot of bodies to training camp, and they're a little bit light at receiver. So hopefully you can catch on and get a 90-man roster spot.
Rashid, talk to me. Can he play or what, brother? Is this guy? Can he play your nephew? I'm sure you're going to gas him up, but let's hope he can play. I'll be wishing him luck, man. Good stuff there, Rashid. We appreciate you checking in, brother. John, I'm going to go to a couple questions here about the draft, about the roster. We got 30 minutes left to play here on this Football Friday. I thought we had a great week of content this week. Plenty of guests, plenty of breakdowns of the NFL draft, and great viewership from the great people of JAKIB Nation. So thanks, everybody. John, who's in trouble on the Eagles roster after the Eagles draft? Or is nobody in trouble? And what I mean by that is, you know, is Sidney Brown in trouble? Is Keely Ringo in trouble? Are any of these guys in trouble based on what the Eagles had to do in the NFL draft class? Any losers on the roster Or maybe there's some winners in your opinion.
Well, I think there's a different way of, if you want to go winners and losers, like I think, there's guys impacted by the draft picks. Andrew Makuba, and we will call him Drew because you're right. He said he preferred Drew. Yeah, that hurt Sidney Brown. Now, Sidney Brown's going to make the football team.
Yeah.
Not from the standpoint, but certainly, Sidney Brown's not a big Fangio guy. Makuba, he comes in as a big Fangio guy. So I would say that impacts Sidney Brown greatly. Now, again, he's not going to get cut or anything of that nature.
Yeah, but it's still a loss for him, right? I mean, in his estimation, if he started this year and had a good year, he could have been on the doorstep of a big contract.
Yeah, and he still might start. It's just now he's got a lot more competition. And, conversely, if you look at Kelee Ringo in the secondary, pretty good draft for Kelee Ringo. Mac McWilliams isn't coming in to start at outside corner in the 5th round. So, I would say it's pretty good draft. Now, Nakobe Dean, it's like there's so many moving parts to Nakobe Dean. When is he going to be healthy? Short term versus long term. I think long term, this draft is not a good sign for Nakobe Dean. I think short term, when he's healthy, he's going to be the middle linebacker. So depends how you kind of look at it.
Right.
But I don't think he's going to be here long term. It's just another one of those difficult decisions. You can't pay everybody. And now you have Munden, you have Trotter, you have potentially Jihad Campbell. That's a lot of bodies. So I think, from that standpoint, again, depending on how you look at it, long term, I think it was a bad sign for Nakobe. And then, that probably the ones that immediately come to mind.
Yeah, I think Nakobe. I definitely. I see Nakobe. I don't see the future, unfortunately, for Nakobe after his rookie contract is up. So we'll see what ends up happening there. Maybe he still is in their plans, but I just have a hard time believing they're going to pay 2 linebackers, let alone Nakobe, who's had injury history, who's had a bunch of that stuff, and now they got other guys in the room who could potentially be that. So we'll be following that all along here as we continue to work through it here. Let's get to another super chat. Abe says, J-Mac, do you expect the nickel-based defense to change?
No.
We're going to have to do another breakdown, John, defense. Remember last summer we did like a breakdown of the Fangio defense and why 3-4, 4-3, all that labeling is bullshit. Well, we're going to have to do it again because I'm getting a lot of those comments again. Oh, can we do 3-4 or a 4-3 and have 3 linebackers on the field? And I'm like, listen, I'm going to get John to give me the rundown on all of that because that's very misunderstood in the Vic Fangio defense.
Yeah. Yeah, but the majority of the time you're going to have a nickel corner on the field, probably 65 to 75% of the time, depending on the week. So, but that's the NFL in general. That's why I hate the term base defense because people talk about base defense like it's 1975. Well, they're in a 3-4 there in the
how much percentage of the time are they in their base defense, you think? 15, 20%?
Well, no, that's why it's not their base defense. Their base defense is their base defense is what they play most often. And for the Eagles, it's nickel. For every team in the NFL, it's nickel. Every team. Now, there's different versions of that. In Vic's more layered than most. You got multiple fronts, you got odd man fronts, even man fronts. You got 4-man fronts, 5-man fronts, 6-man fronts he used last year. Generally, you're going to have 2 linebackers on the field. One of those is going to be 100% 3-down player. One of those is going to be 90+%. and you're going to have two safeties, which are generally interchangeable. So people talk about strong and free. They got to be interchangeable essentially in Vic's defense to give the looks that he wants to look. And the whole basic point of it is to, spin out, make everything look the same for the quarterback pre-snap. So he can't easily digest what coverage is coming and then spin out into the coverage post-snap. And the whole point of it is to make the quarterback think for an extra split second. That's really it. That's what we're talking about. Make him confused for an extra split second before he understands what coverage he's going to see.
Which is sometimes all you need, man, in the NFL. Yeah. It's a quick game. So,
and that's, part of the reason why he wants that player that we keep talking about, that part off-ball linebacker, part edge rusher, part flat defender, part interior rusher, because it gives you a bunch of different looks. And it confuses quarterbacks.
John, I want to ask you about, we had Mike Gillen the other day who's bringing up all the questions on the defense. And I thought they were fair questions. It doesn't mean they're all not going to work out, but I did think they were fair, at least questions. I want you to put on your opinionated cap, all right? I want your opinion here on this. Which player, and it can be any, it can be the draft picks, it can be Sidney Brown, Keely Ringo, Smile Munden, Jeremiah Trotter, any of the guys who could potentially get more time this year. Which one are you most confident in terms of replacing who was lost, and which one are you least confident in where you have the most concern?
That's a good question, because I'm not confident in many of them. No, to replace the players they replaced.
No, I hear what you're saying. I mean, they were good. Well, we lost a lot of good players.
Yeah,
I think people downplay that a little.
Yeah. Boy, I think it's Moro Ajomo.
Most confident or least? Most.
Most.
Right? Yeah.
Most. Least, I would say. Whomever's going to replace Josh Sweat. They don't have that player on the roster right now, which is one of my big concerns. They just don't have that player on the roster. I mean, they don't have, it's going to be very tough for Moore to replicate what Milton Williams did, but I think he's going to be a good player.
I think he's the most capable. I mean, he's not going to be the same player, but to your point, I think he's going to be the most capable to not have a huge drop off there.
I mean, could Sidney Brown or Drew Makuba, be okay? Sure, but they're not going to be CJ. Can Keely Ringo be okay at corner, or Dory Jackson? Yeah, but they're not going to be Slay. So there's a downgrade all over the place. But as far as the big, I don't think they have a player to replace Josh Sweat. I just don't.
Right.
Ojulari's a part-time player, best case scenario. And defensive line is rotational, but we're talking about Josh was, the term they'll use is 3-down defensive end, not literally, but he played a lot. And he was capable of doing every role to a high degree. And Josh Uche, I don't even know if he's going to make the team. So, I can't be really high on him. And Jalix Hunt, I think, is a developmental prospect. I would say I'm the highest on Jalix Hunt by a wide margin. Is he ready to take over for Josh Sweat on a full-time basis?
How many snaps did Josh Sweat play last year, John? 800?
Look it up. No, like in the 200s.
No, Josh Sweat.
Josh Sweat.
Yeah.
I thought we were on. Yeah, Jalix. Let me look. I'll look it up right now. But I mean, Josh is a really good player. I think underrated player. Played 800 and 831. 831.
That's a lot of snaps to replace on the edge. It is. I mean, especially a guy who did everything pretty well. He didn't do anything exceptional, but he did everything good. You know, he was good in the run, good against the pass, good at rushing the passer, everything. So that's going to be tough to replace.
Yeah, well, that's why they don't have that player on the roster. They don't.
All right, so we built the spectrum now, though, John. We built least confident, most confident. Give me one player now that's a little not as confident or not as unconfident, I guess you could say. One more on each side.
I think Ringo's got a chance to be a good corner. Outside corner. This is a tough town to do it in because he's going to get beat, and people are going to point that out to be nicely. But I think he's got a chance to be a good player. The linebackers, like, they have a lot of bodies. And this is more short term for Nakobe. But I mean, I like the Small London pick, but I mean, he's a rookie, 5th round pick. Right. I mean, we went through this with Johnny Wilson, Isaiah Smith, and Trevor Keegan. People are pretty hyped on them last year.
Where's our Isaiah Smith trooper? Oh, wait, it was James Carver, who's actually a good football mind. He was our Isaiah Smith truther. Yeah. Oh, James, are you out there, Carver? I haven't seen Carver in a bit. I saw him a little bit ago in here, but
so I don't have tremendous day one confidence. And like we started the show with Jihad, he's not going to be there day one. He's not going to be ready day one. Might be on the roster.
Red shirt year for him, do you?
Yeah, I think he brought up Cooper purposefully. I think by the second half of the season, I think they'll try to get him in as a sub-package player. But
so based on what you tell me about Campbell, and you can correct me on this if I'm wrong, but this is my read right now listening to you talk about Campbell. He's going to start as a sub-package gadget guy. And the upside is a super gadget guy. Is that right? Is that
I don't call versatile defensive players gadget guys. They're to me the opposite of gadget guys. Gadget guys I try to use manufactured touch are, to me, offensive players like Deebo Samuel being the most notable. You got Cordero Patterson, probably even more so. You got to get them the football because they're not going to run crisp routes. So you got to jet sweep, orbit motion, yada, 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 get them in the backfield. All these ways you got to purposefully manufacture the touch. I don't think guys who play multiple, I think they're the exact opposite of gadget guys.
Okay. So you don't view it as.
No, they're a flipping pain in the ass. Because when you got somebody who can legitimately, the last guy who could do it for the Eagles was Malcolm Jenkins, a little bit in a different way.
Yeah, right.
But Malcolm played everything for Jim Schwartz at times, and he played it all effectively. And that is a pain in the ass to deal with, because most quarterbacks are like calling out the middle linebacker, yada, yada, yada. Well, if you got a guy who's playing middle linebacker on one snap, and then he's on the edge on the next snap, and then he's a joker on the next snap, it's pretty difficult to deal with.
Is it harder to build a defense around that, though?
It's immensely hard. Well, it's not hard to build a defense. Like, if you ask everybody, if you polled every offensive coach who the best defensive coordinator in the NFL is, Vic Fangio is going to win. If you polled every coach and say who's the most pain in the ass to play against, Brian Flores is going to win. And that's because he does all this wacky shit that nobody else does.
Right.
And it's a pain in the ass. And, you know, when you have guys playing multiple positions and playing them effectively, that's the key. Like I say all the time, anybody can line up anywhere. Oh, you'll get all these film people that get their panties in a bunch. Oh, he lined up in the slot. Yeah, can he play effectively from the slot? That's what we're talking about. Anybody could line up there. I can line you up there, Zander. Can you play effectively at an NFL level? But I can line you up there. Can you do it effectively? So can you play stacked linebacker effectively and be an effective edge rusher and be an effective interior rusher and be effective in coverage? I know one guy who fits that description. And that's the guy the Eagles can't stop. He's the new Russell Wilson. They can't stop talking about him behind the scenes. Fucking Van Ginkel. Van Ginkel.
Right.
I'm sick of it.
See, the funniest part about it, I hear what you're saying, because, you know, effectively, if you do have that player, they could be out there every play, and it makes your defense that much more versatile. But I can't help but think, John, that this type of player is also a little bit gimmicky, and you don't like gimmicks. And that's where I'm like, I could see John just saying, I want an edge rusher and I want a linebacker.
Well, I think it's more likely, you know, one of the reasons, and again, if you go back to Howie Roseman's press conference, after they drafted Jihad Campbell. So day one of the draft, his first of 3 press conferences that weekend. He raved about his edge play, his edge ability. Talked about him being an IMG. So it was all edge. And then I don't want to put him in a box. Now, why is he saying that? And that's created all this confusion. Blah, blah, blah. No, he's an off-ball lineman. He's this, he's that, he's that. He said he didn't want to label him. He doesn't want to put him in a box. Doesn't want to pigeonhole him. And what does everybody do? They want to label him. No, he's got to be an off-ball linebacker. And why are people like that? Well, people are like that because that's generally what happens. We talked about with Travis Hunter. Well, you're going to play wide receiver, you're going to play defensive back.
Right.
You're not going to play both. You might play a little bit of a package here and there, but it's very hard to imagine. Now, that's even more drastic because he's playing both sides of the football, so that's on another level. But people are they're not used to, for good reason. I just point out, I'm sure there's another one. If somebody puts it in the chat, please let me know. I'm sure there's another front 7 player out there somewhere that's as versatile, but I'm just telling you the guy the Eagles constantly call.
I don't know if there is, John, and that's what I don't like about it, is that it's not common. You know, it's the outlier.
No, that's what I'm saying. And that's why the truth, if you're a betting man, again, I always talk about the odds.
Right.
He's going to have to play one or the other. And to Howie's credit, that's why he's like, don't put this guy in a box. Part of that is upside, but part of it is, well, if it doesn't work, we'll just put him at off-ball linebacker. You know? So there's 2 ends to that equation, or edge rusher, whatever. But everything he and Alec Halaby have said, they talk about, and I'm trying to find the exact quote, you know, when he was asked, all right, is he going to start with Washburn or is he going to start with Bobby King? So that basically, what that means is he going to start with the edge coach or the inside linebackers coach. And Howie said, I think we will go through that here, but this is a guy, and then he starts in with the edge stuff. But this is a guy who was recruited from IMG at Alabama as an edge rusher, hand in the dirt edge rusher. They had some injuries at Alabama. Actually, I think they just moved him because Will Anderson and Dallas Turner were there, to be honest, but I could be wrong. They played him off the ball. You see his explosiveness and his speed. And really, it's kind of interesting, and we talked about this a lot. And then he broke into the Penn State guys. You see Penn State, give them a lot of credit for what they've done. They've had guys off the ball, moved to edge rushers, Micah Parsons, Abdul Carter. Obviously, their last two guys have been drafted really high. They started off the ball and they moved to edge rusher. It's all edge, edge, edge. And then he breaks into how good Vic is, getting guys who have pass rush ability to be versatile. Edge, edge, edge. And then at the end, and he can play linebacker. So that's sort of what they've been doing. And there's two parts to that. The part is they want him to develop into this unbelievable piece with versatility up front. And if he doesn't, they're going to have to default back to off-ball linebacker. Is basically what's going on.
Going to be interesting to see how it all plays out there. We got some super chats we'll get to here on the show. Appreciate everybody for being here this morning. Got a good crowd in here as always. All right, we appreciate all of you guys for being here. Let's get to some super chats here. Abe, we already got that one. Alfredo says rookie mini camp unscripted.
I'm sure you'll see that. They'll have that one. Yeah.
But by the way, it brings me up one of my questions about what you just said about Howie. There are people out there, John, who keep saying to me, state-run media, why you keep listening to Howie? Howie's going to give you, a crock of shit. Watch what they do, not what they say. I don't think Howie's lying.
Because I get to talk to Howie in front of the cameras and behind the cameras. And there's differences. And that's why, in my opinion, obviously, and not a lot of people's opinion, you have to have boots on the ground. We get a lot of information we can't even talk about at times because it's off the record. So, yeah, we're not just showing up at the press conference and that's it. There's a lot of other information gathered.
Good stuff there. Alfredo, appreciate it, brother. Saw you over on Twitter the other day, man. Thank you so much for giving me the follow over there. James M. checking in. What's up, James? If Campbell isn't rushing on plays, then he's next to Zach over Dean, John. You got to see that it knocks Dean down a peg.
Well, again, you're affecting two positions because in that instance, Jihad's not going to play middle linebacker. So Zach's going to move to middle linebacker.
Right, which he did at the end. He did play middle, right, when Nakobe went down last year?
No, Orrin did.
No, Orrin did.
Yeah.
So that would be uncharted territory for Bond.
Yeah. But he can do it. He took the green dot and all that.
Right.
And that's, overblown per Jim Swartz, who, when it happened with Jordan Hicks and Nigel Bradham at Super Bowl 52, we made a big deal about the green dot. And at some point, Jim got frustrated and said, can he repeat what I say? Then he's fine. Basically just impart the information. So that part of it's a little bit overrated. But I read some of the scout quotes from Bob McGinn. There's a lot of potential instinct. And then the second part is, boy, man, this fan base, this is a Super Bowl winning team. Does anybody remember how Nakobe Dean played last year? Before he got hurt against Green Bay?
Played damn good.
It's a damn good middle linebacker. I don't know why. Now, is he going to price himself out in 2026? Probably.
Right.
And if he doesn't price himself out, he's probably got injury issues. And the Eagles are going to move on. So long term, I don't think he's going to be here, unfortunately, because you can't pay everybody. But for this year, and remember the second part is for all the people say he's not going to be ready. I got more confidence in Nakobe Dean being ready week 1 from an injury standpoint than Jihad Campbell being ready week 1 from an injury standpoint. So put that in your back pocket as well.
Yeah, right. I do think there's some fair comments though about that. Like James M says, yes, but he isn't reliable. And then Curtis also says, Xander, we also remember Burks being damn good in his place, which again, both make sense. But I think that also gives people like Nakobe was good, but we can win without him.
Well, I get that.
Now, I'm not saying that's the right line of thinking. I'm just saying that line of thinking does exist.
Oh, I know. Believe me, I've heard the same thing about Dallas Goedert. Well, they won with Calcaterra.
Yeah, right.
And how many times they won with everybody?
Yeah.
They won, what was it, 16 of 17 games. They won with everybody. I mean, you don't want Oren Burks play, and Oren did a phenomenal job. But, Oren's a veteran player, 6-7 years in the NFL. It's a large sample size. He got $2.5 million on the open market, per year. He got a $5 million contract, 2-year, $5 million contract because of that large sample size. If you're just taking that in the playoffs, guy's a $10 million linebacker. That's a little bit of an outlier. So if you want to see Oren Burks play 18 games, 20 games next to Nakobe Dean, I don't think you would have that same to Zach Bond. I don't think you'd have the same impact as Nakobe Dean. But that bothers me because they won with everybody. So you can say, except AJ.
Yeah, except AJ and Jalen. The Jalen,
they can't win without AJ. Well, AJ was in that. Well, Jalen, the game they lost,
Jalen got out in the
Jalen got hurt. Jalen got hurt 6 minutes in.
Yeah.
And they lost with 6 seconds left. And really it was the defensive fault, not the offensive fault.
Which was the only time that CJ Gardner-Johnson wasn't on the field, and that was a defensive collapse in that second half.
So, I mean, this mentality, especially positional players, they won without Dallas Goedert. They won without Nakobe Dean. They won without everybody. They won with I never hear anyone saying, hey, they won with Fred Johnson, so they don't need Jordan Mailata. I never hear that. And I shouldn't hear that. By the way, I shouldn't hear
that. How
that.
crazy would that sound if anybody said that?
They won 4 games. They went 4-0 with Fred Johnson playing left tackle.
Yeah, right.
I don't hear anybody banging down that door. And you shouldn't, by the way. So it's, I don't think that's a good argument.
Yeah. Secunda does bring a good point. Can't win without Lane. Our record when he's out is wild. Yeah, there's very few. Right now it's Lane, it's AJ, and it's Jalen. Those are the only 3. I think
last year they could have won. I think they could have won with just about anybody else for a game or 2.
For a game or 2, right? A game or 2 is a lot different than over the course of a season. Duo Blaze checking in. A couple minutes left here on Birds 365 today before rookie minicamp kicks off later on today. John will be down there at the NovaCare complex. Suo says, do we think Smile takes Trotter's spot at linebacker when Jihad gets put at defensive end for rush situations? I like Smile better than Trotter.
Well, he's more athletic.
Where is he on the injury front? I know he had some injury concerns in college, but is he injured right now or not?
I'm hoping to talk to him today. He seemed healthy from when we talked to him, after he got drafted. But we'll see if he's out there, if there's any issues. But, he's a rookie 5th-round pick, just like Trotter last year. There's going to be some growing pains. I would still, if you're telling me who the week 1 middle linebacker is going to be, I would say Nakobe is number 1 because I think there's a chance he'll be back. But he's not a doctor, so I can't take his word completely. But he's way ahead of schedule. He's walking around. He was off crutches on clean out day after the Super Bowl. It's crazy. And then it would be Trotter, and then it would be Munden, and fourth would be Campbell. But Campbell's only fourth because A, I don't think he's going to play middle linebacker, and B, I don't think he's going to be healthy for week 1. So that's the only reason. If he plays, I think he'll play weak side and Will linebacker, and I think Zach will move over. But that's just my projection.
I kind of agree. We'll see what ends up happening there with that. But good stuff, Johnny Mac. Couple minutes left there to go on the show. Hopefully everything went okay with the tree.
They're out there now. I don't know if it comes across, but
no, I haven't heard anything. But I will say this: I saw this video online the other day, and it's funny. I thought about you because you've been telling me about these damn trees that have been driving you crazy. Dude's taking a tree out of somebody's house. Thing just falls right on somebody's property, just crushes the house. I'm like, oh, you got to worry about that stuff with these big. I don't know how big the tree that you're getting removed is, but
yeah, it's big. It's big. So yeah, that's
big enough to crush a house.
Not my house. That's the problem.
Significant damage.
I got a bigger tree that's big enough to crush my house, but no, this one would probably crush the house next door, which is why we're getting rid of it. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. That'd be a bigger problem than figuring out how to do Birds 365 with tree people if you happen to crush your neighbor's house. But all right, Johnny Mac, good show today, brother. Great week of shows post NFL draft. 10 new players added. Rookie minicamp kicks off today. Your final thoughts, John, on this Football Friday edition?
Yeah, semblance of football. So we'll be out there. Should be a nice day. Talk to some rookies, and we can go back to state-run media on Saturday.
No, I hate state-run media.
Get back to the cheerleaders on Saturday. We'll get some real information for you today for the people who like it.
People love real information. I got pushback the other day when you made that comment at the start of the show. I don't know why people don't like real info. Everyone's like, John, shut up. We love your real info. We love your real info. So there is. John, there's still a large portion of people who love it. That's why Birds 365 exists. Well done, brother. Handle your tree business.
Before I go,
I love when we get news on the
air. Rookie minicamp numbers are in. Numbers are big. Thing Campbell 30, which you mentioned. Makuba 24. Robinson gets 95. The great Mac McWilliams, because he's a Mac, gets 22. Small Munden gets 42. Pete Kendall 66. Kyle McCord 19. Not in love with that. Chris Hinton. Miles Hinton gets 78, which was his dad's number. That's pretty cool.
Wait, so McWilliams gets Keely Ringo's number. Munden gets Oren Burks' number. What did you say McWilliams was? 24?
McWilliams was 22.
22. Who was
Munden's 42. Munden gets Oren Burke's number. He's 42.
What was Makuba?
Makuba was 24.
24. Who had that? Bradbury? Yeah, it was Bradbury.
Yeah.
That's not bad for Makuba.
And Powell Ryland gets 93. Oh, he missed Cam. Cam Williams is getting 73. So there you have it for all the numbers, people. Under the wire.
For Drew Kendall, but I like the rest. All right, the rest sound pretty good. McCuba's is good. I like Campbell's 30. All right, Johnny Mac. Good stuff at the end. We got the numbers, which everybody loves, and Johnny Mac couldn't give a shit about. But we appreciate it, Jay Mac.
And now I will forget the numbers. So
yeah, great week of shows, brother. Maybe we'll catch up with you for 10, 15 minutes post-rookie mini camp today, and then we'll wrap it up, and we'll talk to you on Monday. John, appreciate it, my man. We'll talk to you soon, all right?
All right, sounds good. Happy rookie mini camp to all.
Yep, happy mini camp to you, Johnny Mac. Get down there safe. There's Johnny Mac, John McMullen, the #1 Eagles beat reporter in town. We appreciate him doing it on this Football Friday. Make sure you guys give him a follow at JF McMullen. Truly one of the best accounts to follow, especially if you like Eagles content on the daily. All right, over there. John also retweets good stuff too about like the NFL and different things too. So I always get a kick out of watching, or I always enjoy watching or looking at John's Twitter. Make sure you guys follow him over there and follow me over there as well at Real Zander or on Instagram at Zander Krause Show. All right. So appreciate all of you guys who are connected with me. I don't have much time for Zander time today. I do want to give an update for everybody. And you guys can beat me up on this. You can punch me. You can comment, hate. You can. It's all good. I'll take responsibility. I'll fall on the sword. All right. For anybody who won giveaways. All right. So my winners. Where are my winners? I got like 4 or 5 of you I owe. Bird Gang Girl. Joe Whip. Brian Fleming. Josh B. Lucius the Show. Kirsten Carter. And Cody K. All right. How many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. Woo! I'm behind. No, I haven't sent your giveaways yet. I apologize. All right. I have been caught up on a bunch of shit, and I have not had the chance to go out and send them. What really happened is I lost the things that I put them in to send. So now I have a bunch of labels, and I don't have anything to put them in. So I got to go and buy some things to ship them out. But I will get your stuff out. Don't worry. I know it's you wanted it. I'll get it to you. Don't worry. I'll get it to you, Cody K. Anybody I said, Joe Whip, Bird Gang Girl, I just saw your DM. I didn't respond to it yesterday. I didn't see it till this morning, but I will get back to you. Anybody who I got, don't worry. I'll get it out to you. Josh B, I owe multiple things to. I owe him a jersey. Josh B, are you in here? Where's my boy Josh B? The only jersey I got left is like a double X, and I don't think Josh B can rock a double X. So, Josh B, I know I owe you a jersey. You're my first jersey. You're my first jersey once I get new jerseys in. So I know I owe you that. I got a bunch of people, so I apologize for that. I'll get them all out. Again, you guys can beat me up on it. You can comment, hate, all the good stuff. All good. All right. I apologize. I am a little delayed on that, though. So I have not sent out any of the giveaways, but I will. I will do that. Probably not this weekend, but probably early next week. All right. I don't know you shit, Jammers. I don't know you shit. I bought one Jaden Daniels jersey, and that's enough for your ass. Shitty ass Jaden Daniels. Freaking, come on, man. Wayne says, I'm your 2XL guy. Wayne, maybe I'll give it to you. All right. I think I got a Cooper Shiesty 2X. A Cooper DeJean 2X. I got to have something. I don't know. I got to look. I know I still got a Diana jacket I could give away. I got a bunch of stuff. Eventually, it'll all be given away. Eventually, I'm going to give away that Jalen Hurts thing because I'm tired of looking at that on my wall, too. All right. We'll give that away for the great people. All right, so we'll see what happens. Again, I told you I don't have much time for Zander time today, but I will get one quick question from you guys on, who you most excited to kind of track here through rookie camp. If you're a football honk, and I assume you are because you're watching me on May 2nd in the football offseason, so I assume you're a football honk, okay? Who you most excited to see, man? Who you most excited to see? At rookie camp. Now you're not going to see much. They're not wearing pads. There's not that much, but I'm just excited to see kind of, the players out there. All right. Philly Don says I'm slacking. I know, Philly Don. You can beat me up on it, brother. You can beat me up on it. Overall, I try not to slack. On that. All right. But I do. From time to time. Is that next week, Joe? Shit, when is that? I wanted to go to that. My brother wanted to go with me. My brother, by the way, my brother just closed. So where's my boy Brian Fleming and Rich Nutt and some of the other guys who have been in the business world? My brother just closed his fundraise. Big money, man. He raised $60 million. So shout out to big congrats to my brother, man. Big congrats to my brother. Who started up his company a couple years ago now in New York City. He's in the AI world. He's much smarter than I am. Like, I talk about sports for a living. My brother's like freaking using material science and AI to build the world and all the, and all these things. So he raised big money for his company. So congratulations to him. 60 M's. I'm like, yo, can I get a sheet? Can I get a sheet, bro? No, he's like, hey, listen, bro, this money's basically spent. All right. So congratulations to my brother who's killing it. All right. Brother's a smart dude. So we'll see. But big congrats to him. All right. Let me take some comments on who you guys are most excited to see. Frosty Walrus. How about that for a name? Keep great week of shows. Keep up the big, great work. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Or man or woman, whatever you are. You know, where's my girl whose name it would be impossible to tell she's a girl? Fly Eagles Fly. I saw your comment the other day about, you know, my only problem with Zander is he calls me bro, and I'm a girl. Well, how am I supposed to know that Fly Eagles Fly is a girl? Bird Gang Girl makes it very clear you're a girl. Kirsten Carter. I mean, come on, Fly Eagles. You got to put something in there so I know. All right? You got to put something in there so I know. Let me see what you guys think. Who is most excited? Who are we most excited for at rookie camp here? I want to see Ty Robinson. Yeah, I'm with John, though. Like, the problem with the linemen is no pad. They don't really do much because, you know, they make their hay on beating people up. A lot of Ty Robinsons, though. Josh B says Ty Robinson could be nothing this year, but could be something. I think he's going to be something. Dank Bird Gang says, I want to see how Campbell moves. Good stuff. Joe Whip, Zander coming to Truist. It's a joke. Let me know when that is. I think I am going golfing this weekend, Joe. First time in a year, bro. First time in a year, Joe. I'll be out there hacking up the tee boxes. All right. Got to break out the Mizuno clubs, you know, clean them off. I got my fresh pair of golf shoes ready to go. So I think I'm going to golf this weekend. I'm going to try it at least. This guy says, what's up with the beard? I don't know, man. I'm just letting it grow. I've never let it grow. All right. Just don't call me late for dinner. See, that's pretty funny. The cricket club, that's where it is. I know that, but when is it? Is it this weekend or next weekend? 4 for 4 says, did you notice my new pick, Zander, since you said I got imposters? You do. You got like 3 imposters. So your new picture, you want me to grade it? 3 out of 10. Can't even see what it is. Not bright, not bold, isn't memorable. 3 out of 10 might be generous. 4 for 4. Sorry, man. You want me to be honest with you, right? 3 out of 10. Not memorable. It's like Fredo Hertz. This guy had a memorable name, and now he becomes just another Hertz. We got like 18 Hertzes in the chat. I mean, come on. Rich, checking in. Appreciate the chat. Z is still a cis spot. Oh, Rich, shut up. LMAO, fucking here. 4 for 4, I'm just messing with you, man. I'll be at the 15th with Saquon. You hanging out with Saquon? Yeah, let me see if I can get tickets to this thing. The Truist. Where is this thing? It's at the Cricket Club. I think that's where my parents might have had like their wedding there, I think. I got a Cricket Club polo. May 7th to 11th. That's my birthday weekend. My birthday is my birthday next week? Oof. You know, I don't care about birthdays. All right. It's another day in the week. I try and tell my girlfriend that. She doesn't agree. All right. Another day in the week. Just another day in the week. All right. Ty Robinson. Curtis says, J-Mac got annoyed, but I think the Dean Burks comparison is more reasonable than Calcaterra, Goddard, and Fred and Lane. I agree, Curtis. Freaking Taurus. I don't look at signs. What is that? I don't look at signs. Fucking signs. Goofy. Rich. Don't be a goofy, Rich. Is it bro and bra? There you go. Fly Eagles Fly is going to be bra now instead of bro. Wife's is the 8th. There you go. May. May's a great birthday month. May's a great birthday month. Listen to this. My parents clearly had they had a time. All right. I'm May 10th. Brothers May 24th. Sisters May 31st. Last sister's June 14th. So like all of us are within a month. All 4 of us. And my mom's April 28th. She just passed. So April 28th, May 10th, May 24th, May 31st, June 14th. There you go. And it's a big Krause time at our birthdays. And my girlfriend's April 12th. She was last month. So a lot of birthdays. Another day in the week. I mean, shit. All right. Stability, practicality, appreciation of beauty, and you like Rich. Rich, I don't even know what you're talking about, but all good. All right. All good. All right. I got to run, everybody. I appreciate it, man. We got a party with the Krauses in May. Fredo, you come over, brother. You're more than welcome. You're more than welcome to come and party. All right? More than welcome. Big Joe, yeah, I guess so. I guess so, Abe. If that's what you want to do it. All right. See, we're not a Halloween family either, you know. We're not a Halloween fan. Is that when it would be? October? Xander, do you see Campbell becoming Hassan Reddick in this scheme? I don't know about that. We'll see. Brandon says, W show, Xander, praying for your success. Brandon, I always pray for all my great supporters, man. I appreciate that very much. B. Howe, thank you, brother. One of our best, one of my favorites. All right. Come on down the shore to the house, Z. We can celebrate. Where you at, Rich? Where you at, brother? My girlfriend lives down the shore, so she's in I'm not a fan of where she is, I'll tell you that. I don't want to say it because everybody's gonna get their panties in a bind. All right. Oh, nice. NWW, North Wildwood. Nice. You're right by me down there. I lived in, Rich, last season. No, not last season. Yes, last football season. So not the season that just passed, the 2023 football season. From September to January, I lived in North Wildwood for the season because we were doing post-game shows in Atlantic City. So I lived in Wildwood. It was like 45 minutes away. And it was cheap enough in the off season for me to live there. So I lived there for like 4 or 5 months. Yeah, North Wildwood, right on the beach, actually, right on the beach. It was like a kind of a condo complex, but it was nice. It was nice. A block from Russo's. Where was I? Let me see if I can find where I was. What the heck was that address? Orchard? Was it Orchard? 503 East Orchard Ave. Yeah, that's what it was. Wildwood Crest. It was the Crest, I guess. So not North. Not North Wildwood. It was the Crest. My bad, Rich. I forgot. I get them all mixed up. It was the Crest. Yeah, that's right. I just plugged it in. That's where I lived for a couple months. It was actually pretty fun living there. It's pretty fun living there. Wildwood days. That's one of my favorite spots, man. We got to get that back. I think they're coming back for the summer. So, Wildwood days. I love that spot. That's a good spot. All right, Z, go handle business. Thanks, bro. You kicking me off my own channel? What is this, 559? What do you run this place? Huh? You kicking me off my own channel? Jesus, cry me. Xander, how long you been an Eagles fan? Since I was born. I don't know. Forever. I grew up around here. I'll never forget the one clear memory I have when I was a kid was losing the Super Bowl in 2004. I was 6 years old? Yeah, I remember. I'll never forget that. I was at my aunt's house. Aunt used to throw Super Bowl parties every year. I was at her house. Never forget that. The day I turned into a McNabb hater. No, I'm not a McNabb hater at all. I actually love McNabb. I saw this floating around. Who's the best quarterback in Eagles history? Give me the top 4 right now. Is Jalen number 1? He can't be yet, right? Yeah, I did. I tried Skinny Joe's. I forgot to tell you guys. I tried it, Fredo. It's good. It's good. It's not, I wouldn't say it's like insane. I mean, it's good. It's good. It was good. You know what's been struggling on the cheesesteak front, and it used to be real good, is Steve's. Steve's Princess Steaks has been struggling for me recently. I don't know what's going on, but, I used to like Steve's, but not as good anymore, man. I don't know. They don't get the cheese in there. They don't get the onions in there. It's just like on top, and then it sticks to the paper, and then you're just kind of eating cheese or bread and meat, and you're like, eh. Angelo's is definitely the best. Angelo's is crazy flexing. Go to Angelo's. Angelo's is goated. We all know that. If you're around here, man, this guy says, careful what you say about Joey. I don't give a fuck about Joey. No, I'm kidding. He was there when I was there, actually. He was there. Joey Molino. All good. First game in 89 at 4 years old in the 700 level at the vet. I've been a savage ever since. Yeah, B. Flem, I can tell. All right, I can tell. Did anybody put their top list of QBs? Here we go. Randall, Hurts, McNabb. Randall won, I guess. LaPrade says Randall, Jalen, Donovan, and Jaws. Those are my 4 for sure. Vic? No. Let me see. Anybody else give me good ones? Damn, Zander, they skimping on cheesesteaks. Abe, I love cheesesteaks, dude. I really do. Scott says, I want to see how Holland Pierce fills out the line from Becton. I don't know if he's going to have, I mean, he's not going to have the first chance. They got like 30 offensive linemen, dude, right now. Slager says, I'm going to hit Bradley Cooper's joint in Manhattan later this summer. I'll give a review. All right, Slag, I'll be looking forward to it. I'll be looking forward to it. So, top Eagles QB, and then I'm getting out of here. McNabb, is he one? You guys had Randall one. I think McNabb would still be one. No? McNabb played here for a long time, man. I guess because you don't win a Super Bowl, it gets jaded quick, but I think Jaws has to be in there too, right? Rich Nuts going back to Norm Van Brocklin. That's like a Ray Didinger pull right there. Van Brocklin, Hurts, McNabb, Gabriel. Randall won. What years did Norm Van Brocklin play? What years did he play? He was like 60s, right? What years did he play? No, he was earlier than that. Yeah, early 60s. I guess early 60s on him. 40s and 50s? Yeah, he was coaching in the 60s. He was coaching in the 60s. Dang, he died real young. He was only 57 when he died. Won it in 60. There you go. That's right. He died early. He died at 57 years old. Holy moly. That's too young, man. That's too young. All right, everybody. I got to run. All the giveaways. We're going to start up new giveaways next week once I send out everybody's because I don't want to give away more shit when I'm already 7 behind. All right, I can't have 10 behinds. All right, so let me get the giveaway sent. All right, I'll get them all sent out, and then we'll give away more stuff next week. All right, I'm going to get some fresh stuff in too. I talked to my Jersey guy, so he's going to start getting stuff in later in the offseason. We'll give away some stuff from that. Maybe we'll give away some Jihad Campbell's jerseys. Maybe. Wow, he died May 2nd, ironically. Holy shit. That is a weird coincidence. 22 years ago today. That is crazy, Dank. Later, Primo. All right, everybody. Appreciate you all being here. Great week of shows. I appreciate it as always. Good stuff. By the way, one update, I had some dude who tweeted out to Lord Brunson yesterday. He's like, Zander was talking shit on you. I'm like, I wasn't talking shit on Brunson. I said I liked him. But I corrected the narrative that he said I was benching him. So LB hit back and he's like, hey, maybe we'll do some content together. And I said I'd be down to make that happen. So maybe me and Lord Brunson will make some content. We'll see what you guys would think of that. I think it would be pretty good. I like doing content with people. So maybe I'll do some content with a couple other creators this offseason. I'm going to start to do some more stuff like that with me. I don't think it would be with John. It would probably be my own show or something. But I'd like to do content with him. I'd like to do content with 500, maybe even Joey Shakes, a couple of those other guys. I think that'd be cool to get together. So all good. Maybe we'll do that and see what we think. All right. Appreciate all you guys being here. Hit that like button on the way out, and I'll catch you next time, everybody.
You've been listening to Birds 365, the destination for the passionate Eagles football fan who bleeds green. If it's Eagles football, we're talking about it. Debate inside the locker room and guests that are some of the greatest football minds from around the region. We hope you enjoyed the show. We know we had a blast. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hook up with us on social media at JAKIB Sports. See you next time on Birds 365.